Welcome to my studio, everyone. My name is Mark, and I'm an artist, an art professor, and a fountain pen enthusiast who uses fountain pens to make art. In this video, I'm going to talk about a pen that I've already reviewed twice, the M2 pocket pen made by Hongdian. What is the point of doing a third review of the same pen? Well, it's not exactly the same. The first one was made of aluminum and was excellent. The second one was made of brass, which I managed to patina and was even better. And now comes this one, which is not only made of titanium, but actually has some slight design improvements. As always, I'll give you a detailed tour of the pen, take it through my usual series of tests, draw with it, and then tell you whether it belongs in your fountain pen arsenal. Let's get started. Here is the Hongdian M2 next to its closest rival, the Kaweco Sport. Capped, the pen measures 10.7 centimeters. Uncapped, a little over 10 centimeters. And posted, we have 13.7 centimeters. These dimensions are very close to the Kaweco Sport, except that the Kaweco posts a full centimeter shorter. The longer posting length on the M2 is not an issue, since the pen is still short enough to not be back heavy. But it's a curious feature which deviates from the other versions of the M2. The aluminum version posts a full half centimeter shorter, and the brass version posts an entire centimeter shorter. This I'm pointing out just as a curiosity, since the extra posting length doesn't affect the balance of the pen. But the way the titanium pen posts is also slightly different and is really the only significant drawback on this pen. In the other two pens, the posting is not only deeper but smoother, indicative of a plastic liner inside the cap. The posting here feels like metal on metal and has already resulted in light scratches on the back of the pen. Furthermore, the posting is not quite as secure, and unless you apply a bit of force, the cap will pop off occasionally. This is a questionable design deviation, and considering this is a pen that absolutely requires posting, is an annoying drawback. This pen weighs in just short of 37 grams, a full 2 grams lighter than the brass version, but 12 grams heavier than the aluminum version. However, this pen is very comfortable to hold because of its micro-textured surface, which I can't show you, but you can hear when I run my fingernails across it. This makes it easier to grip securely than the aluminum version, which is downright slippery, and the brass version, even when the lacquer is removed and the pen has been given a patina. The pen comes with a standard size number 5 Hongdian nib, which you can get in extra fine, fine, medium, as well as a fude, and something called a long blade point, which is a grind that combines an architect and a fude, which allows you to change the line weight based on angle. Since I already have a number of Hongdian extra fine nibs, I decided to go with a fude nib. By the way, you can get a set of 3 Hongdian nibs and housing units for under $10 on Amazon, a fantastic deal. The nib sits in a proprietary Hongdian housing unit and pops out for easy cleaning. And most importantly, since this is a standard number 5 size, you can swap it very easily for a number of other number 5 nibs. This is a cartridge converter pen, which comes with a very nice converter that can be taken apart and fully cleaned. As for cartridges, it uses the short, standard Chinese 3.4mm size, so you can't use this pen with European standard cartridges which use the smaller 2.4mm bore. While this limits the range of cartridges that can be used with this pen, the good news is that with this pen, you can do away with cartridges and converters altogether. Titanium is an inert metal that doesn't react to ink, and that means you can eyedropper this pen. It already has a rubber ring at the end of the barrel threads for a tight seal, but I also added some silicone grease for extra protection, and I'm pleased to report that it works great. Eyedropper filled pens sometimes have problems with burping, caused by the hand warming the air inside the barrel, but I've had no such problems with this pen, perhaps because the pen barrel doesn't actually make contact with the fingers when held. The ability to eyedropper this pen gives it a huge advantage, since the main drawback of pocket pens is their poor ink capacity. Eyedropping gives this pen 2.5 milliliters of ink, a very respectable amount even for an oversized pen. Since I suspect most of you will be buying this pen with a regular nib, I'm going to swap nibs and replace the Fude with an extra fine for the tests. Since I've already tested this pen twice, I'll go through the tests quickly. I'm working on Strathmore 300 series Bristol paper with a smooth, hard, and non-absorbent surface, and have filled the pen with Noodler's Lexington Gray, a transparent ink that allows us to see the ink flow. In the consistency test, the pen performs perfectly, putting down uninterrupted lines at every speed and direction. Hongdian has made great improvements in their nibs, so much so that they often rival the high-quality German nibs found in many high-end Western pens. In the flex rating, the pen does have some, starting off at an extra fine and with pressure going all the way to a medium. This is nice, noticeable, and easy to control line variation. And it reverse writes very well, putting down a smooth, extra fine line. This rates at about a 2.5 on the flex scale, similar to the German nibs made by Jowo of the same size. In the feedback test, the pen was surprisingly smooth for an extra fine nib with very little feedback. And in the flow test, it was moderately wet, which definitely contributed to the smoothness of the pen. So, unsurprisingly, since this is the third time I'm doing tests with this particular nib, the performance was very good. But since I happen to have bought this pen with a Fude nib, allow me to sing its praises. Those of you who follow my channel know that Fudes are my second favorite nib type after flex nibs, and I have tons of videos singing their praises and showing many ways of using them. I'm therefore not going to get into what Fude nibs are and why they're great, or how to use them. What I am going to tell you is that the Fude nib in this Hongdian is one of the better ones I've used, and the pen pairing could not be better. First, the flow is nice and wet. Which is perfect for Fude nibs that demand good ink flow. The second is that the feed on the Hongdian is low profile. This means that I can hold the pen very flat against the paper without the feed getting in the way, which allows me to get the largest possible line variation. Third, Fude nibs use ink very quickly, so having that large ink capacity provided by eyedropping is super useful. And fourth, the shortness of this pen unposted allows me to use it with this grip, which I call the thumb and forefinger grip, which is more comfortable when holding the pen at a very flat angle. And since I already have this Fude installed and inked up, let's do a drawing with it. And while I draw, I'll give you my thoughts as to whether this pen belongs in your drawing materials arsenal. For this drawing, I switched over to my favorite sketchbook, the Art Creations series made by Talens, but I'm still working with Noodler's Lexington Gray ink. There are so many great fountain pens out there that I rarely feel the urge to buy more than one of each pen. So a pen has to be pretty special for me to get a second one. It's therefore pretty high praise that this is my fourth Hongdian M2, and even higher praise that of all of them, this is my favorite version. Though I love the weight, balance, and more secure posting of the brass version, without the patina, it's too slick to be comfortable for long drawing sessions. And since brass is highly corrosive when exposed to ink, it cannot be eyedroppered. The aluminum version also can't be eyedroppered, and the slipperiness of the finish is a major drawback. Though I like this pen more than the other versions of the M2, the poor posting is a problem which needs to be addressed, and right away. You really have to jam the cap into the barrel to post securely, and even then it will occasionally slip off for no reason, as it did at least 3 or more times during this hour-long drawing session. Is this a deal breaker? No, but a pen like this absolutely needs to get the posting right. Otherwise, the pen is a pleasure to use, with great balance, good grip, and a pleasantly substantial weight to it that adds to the feeling of stability in the hand. It really felt like I was working with some kind of precision surgical instrument when working with this pen. Does it deserve a place in your drawing arsenal? If you're an artist who needs a small, durable, and reliable pen with huge ink capacity for long sketching sessions outdoors, then the answer is yes. Here is the completed drawing. A narrated, real-time demonstration of the process is available to channel members, who, for a small monthly fee, get access to a library of long-form tutorials and 2 new classes every single month. To conclude this review, let's rank this pen on a 1 through 10 scale based on 7 criteria and then give it an overall rating. Performance. I'm not sure where to penalize this pen for its poor posting, but let's not do it here, because the pen really performs brilliantly. No drips, no skips, just wet, smooth writing, no matter what nib you use with it. I'll give it a 10 in this category. Ergonomics. I don't think I'll place the penalty here either, because the pen does post, and when it's posted, the balance is very good, and the long, comfortable grip section with a textured surface leaves nothing to be desired. The only thing that might hold it back from being perfect is the weight. Once a pen pushes past 35 grams, its weight becomes noticeable, and for some people, takes some getting used to. I personally have no problem with it, but I regularly use pens that are heavier, such as the Kaweco Sport Brass, which on a good day is 48 grams. For those of you not used to moving such heavy weights around, prepare for an adjustment period. I'll give this pen a 9 in this category. Build quality. The build quality is superb, and the sturdier clip is noticeably better than in the previous versions. But the poor posting is really a build quality issue, so this is where I'll knock off the points. It's a shame. I love the titanium material, and otherwise this thing feels like it's built like a tank. I'll knock off 2 points here and give the build quality an 8. Perhaps I'm being harsh with what is otherwise a well-built pen, but solid posting is absolutely crucial in a pen like this and has to be done well. Practicality. For someone who often works away from the studio, pocket pens are super useful, allowing you to fit them in places other pens cannot go. And pocket pens made of durable, scratch-resistant materials are even more useful, removing the stress that comes from carrying a delicate pen. This pen can go anywhere. I can throw it in a bag or put it in my pocket with the car keys. For that alone, it deserves to rate highly for practicality. And the fact that it can be eyedroppered safely adds to the rating. I'm going to give this a 10. Cleaning and maintenance. This is a cinch. The pen comes apart easily, as does the housing unit. By the way, that wasn't the case with my other versions of the M2, where the nibs and housing are very tightly fitted, and I had problems removing them. Here it popped right out with very little force. Furthermore, the sturdy little converter also comes apart for easy cleaning. As for long-term maintenance, there's an O-ring next to the barrel threads that will eventually need to be switched out, but it looks to be a standard size and is easily replaced. I'll give this a 10. Value. This is an easy 10. This pen is only $30, while Kaweco is trying to get you to buy their Titanium Sport for over $250. Appearance. Pen design must be a very tricky thing. You want to innovate and create something new, but there's only so much you can do, and you have to pay close attention that the design doesn't compromise on a pen's performance. This is why, in most cases, pen designers default to some slight variation on the torpedo shape, choosing to innovate with the finish or the filling mechanism of the pen. With the M2, the designers at Hongdian hit it out of the park, creating a distinct, innovative, and sleek design that is industrial without looking entirely utilitarian. And the gray titanium finish is just lovely, with a textured surface preventing the pen from being too shiny. The only thing missing is the decorative finial. I'm going to be petty and drop half a point for that, 9.5. Now let's average out the scores and see what we have. The pen rates at a 9.5. So, where does this score fall on my 1 through 10 scale? I would say anything below a 5 is essentially not worth buying. Ratings from 5 to 7, take it or leave it. Recommended pens start at 8, highly recommended start at 9. So this pen at 9.5 is in the required purchase category, but falls short of being a GOAT pen, which runs from 9.6 to a 10. I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you did, please subscribe and consider becoming a channel member. Thanks so much for watching, and see you back in my studio very soon. Bye for now.